One thing that most women will tell you is that they must have safe spaces that they could access during such times, where perhaps if they physically cannot go and visit it, they could at least talk to somebody who can help them through what they are, help them to get over the worst, or to deal with the worst of what is going through, what is hitting them. The loss in income, the loss of a job, the loss of privacy, the loss of the safety that the husband has gone to work and will come back. It is not just going and sitting in an alcohol shop and is going to come home drunk and beat me up. There are many, many things. Women will also tell you automatically, it's the women who will tell you that the children need this. Post-COVID, one of the things that many women have told us about is, for God's sake, bring in a policy where much like we have said that, Prevention of Sexual Harassment at the Workplace Act is there. Bring in an act that says that everybody who has more than 5 or whatever number of employees must have a creche. Again, when I was chairperson of NCW, I had a creche built, and I was told that only one girl has a child who will leave we have only one employee who has a small child who's not going to school, who needs to be left in the creche. So I had to tell them that the point is not whether it's 1 or 100. Every woman has the right to have a choice to leave her child in a creche. If you're lucky enough to have elders in the house and you have enough money to be able to afford a caregiver like a nurse or an ayah, then that's a different question. But if you don't have that option, it must be made the duty of the employer. Now, whether the government chooses to subsidize, etc., how they do it, that's up to the government. But women will tell you that we need safe spaces for our children, which means caregivers for the children. Creche is a word used only for very small children, but today you have children who are, I have heard girls being abused between the ages of about 8 to 12, 15. And it's not all sexual abuse. A large part of it is physical abuse. Because in our houses, our Indian tradition is to train the child from the age of 5 or 6 or 7 or 8. A girl will be told, "Jao, matlab, pani le jao papa ke liye. Jara istri kar lo." We are taught housework, for want of a better term. I'm not judging good, bad, all that. I'm just placing facts now before you. It's up to you all to judge what should be actually done. If you all remember, Prime Minister Modi ji in his first Independence Day speech on August 15, 2014, he said that we question our girls, we never question our boys. In the lockdown, this has sort of been exacerbated. I have been told by many people, I don't want to name names and there's no point in it, that you see, the male child always gets more attention, better food, more freedom to use, whether it's the net or or to watch television. And girls are told what? Apni maa ki jaake help karo. This itself, according to me, is a huge step backward. Indian girls today, you just give them, in Tamil we say tuli, that is one little bit of opportunity, and they are shining. Whether they are from a very big home, a rich man's home, or whether they are from a little chawl, or they are even from the slums. Our daughters are so strong and so resilient that if you actually ask me, post-COVID, it's the women who will be able to bring this country back to normal, even economically. The big factories, fine, you have men working there, few women. But there are facts statistics which most people don't bother to even really look at properly. Agriculture, over 70% of agricultural labor is women today in India. What women don't have is the titles of the patta. The patta is not in their name, therefore there are problems. But that's a different topic. That's about how agricultural women need facilitation from the government. You look at art and craft, that is textiles, all the toy making that again Modi ji spoke about, most of the toy making. You look at handlooms. Increasingly, most of these are being manned, for want of a better word. Most of the workers there are women. And these women do not have health insurance. What happens when they fall sick? Many of them are daily labor. If not, they are marginal labor. Their wages are not really even minimum wage that is prescribed today by most of the governments in state governments and central government of India. So what happens when they lose that income? The economy has started picking up, but things like clothes, things like toys, of course, will be somewhere down the line. Art and craft, food, yes. But it's again, when it comes to agriculture, women are not the people who actually handle the cash. Most of the cash transactions are done by men. But today, because of the Jan Dhan accounts, millions of women has benefited because that 500 has gone straight into their accounts. Even then, what has happened is that many women have told me that because everybody knows we have got money, we are the ones who have had to bear the financial burden of dal, roti, sabji. And we have limited money. These are things that, this is what I'm saying. The statistics have not yet come out on these, and I doubt if we ever really have. India does not have a history of what we call disaggregated data. That means data specific to women, not just data on number of women who are born or number of women who are educated, etc., but much more minute data that are just not there in India, even well before COVID. So forget about it being there during the time of COVID. Also, when you have women who work, uh, for example, the bureaucracy hasn't lost their jobs. We have a lot of women in the bureaucracy now, in the police, in many other places, informal jobs, in the formal sector. All right. The percentage of them may be much less than what is there in the informal sector. These women also have had many problems. Many women have been laid off. The only two sectors that have really done well during the COVID lockdown across the world is, of course, e-commerce, and in India, agriculture. These are, as we now say, the shining stars of the COVID epidemic. And how anything can be shining during COVID, I don't know. But this is that's being used. Even in those sectors, women have been laid off much more than men. Why? Because women themselves often have said that it's okay, let my husband work. I will take, a short holiday or a hiatus, or I will for now sit at home for 6 months or do my work over the net. Voluntarily, many women have said that, because many women feel that it is better that we sit at home than the husbands. If we are at home, we can do both the home, look after the house, and do our own work. Men are not traditionally trained to do housework and take the responsibility of seeing that the household keeps running. It's not just about cooking and cleaning when your children are at home. There are a lot more than that. Women are also the ones who normally sit with their children when they are bring their homework back from school. And today it's not just homework, everything is on the net. Schools are opening, but it's on the net. So most women, you have a problem when women are not as literate as you and me, who can help our children to do their work and their homework. What is happening is that women are not able to take that burden, and again they're getting into trouble, which normally is either being harassed physically or really physically abused. Women will tell you that there are problems with continuing school online, because many women, what I was taught, which is 40, 50 years ago, that's not the way our grandchildren are being taught today. The system of education, the way maths is being taught, is totally different today. So if you're a woman who's over 30 or 40, you'll find that the maths that your child is learning, sometimes it's very difficult for us to explain to them. And there are practical problems like this that have abounded, that have come out through the epidemic and are now even there present as we are slowly opening up. You would have been told that suddenly in the middle, the price of onions had shot up. Now, you know what happens when onion price shoots up. Onion is almost like rice and wheat and dal. It's a staple diet in this country. Except for a very few marginal population, most people eat onion as a normal thing, as part of their diet every day, even the very poor. So again, when it comes to not provision of food that one wants, you take it out generally on the women in your house, your mother, generally. Or if it's not her, your mother, your bhabhi, your masi, your chachi, whatever. I mean, I really don't know. But it is the women who have taken this burden too. Today, yes, the onion problem fortunately was solved very quickly and the prices are back to normal. But nonetheless, as women see the opening up of the economy, many of them are very afraid that they will not get back their jobs. And given the fact that most families have been financially hit negatively, most families, and women may have saved. Indian women are known to save a little money here and there, buy a little gold here and there, etc. But in the lockdown, that hasn't really helped them. Maybe the cash may have if they could use it without their husband knowing. Maybe women who have access to a bank account that you could use the net to do your transactions. But how many women, how many percentage? 1.36 billion, 48.67% or so are women. Do the math. You just can't have, enough women who have that sort of option available to them. Now, this is what the government needs to take on board, whether it is the Niti Aayog or the ministries or any of the states who are looking at what women actually need, actually what the economy needs. In Maharashtra, you have women in the rural areas because Maharashtra is one of the only states in mid and North India that has taken up the self-help group concept and pushed it as much as it was pushed in South India. So women there actually are rearing goats. They have trained themselves to be local veterinarians as referral veterinarians, the ones at the ground, at the grassroots level, who can go if there's a complaint and go and see what's wrong with the cow, why she's not giving milk. Only if the if they don't know enough medical, medical veterinary medicine, then they call the local vet. So they are part now of what's called the supply chain. But in the COVID again, they have been stuck at home. It's very difficult for them to travel. Now, when they do travel, they have to first take care of the fact that their children are at home or the fact that their husbands are also at home. Imagine how rare it is in India that a woman actually goes out to work when the husband is sitting at home. In most, I would say 95% of cases. So the psychological effect of COVID on women has not even been considered in most cases. For women like me who have grown up children, my maids disappeared. But I come from an economic and a background where I was able to cope. And I've never been the victim of physical violence. I'm one of those women, if I was hit, would have probably hit somebody back. But aside from that, at my age, it's a different attitude that I have. I come from a family where Makarand has mentioned all the men, but my grandmother was the first woman and the only woman from South India to go to the Round Table Conference in 1932. Recently, a cousin of mine was rummaging through old photographs. He took a photograph and sent it. And I put a Facebook post saying, this is one of the best things of the women in my family. We've not really been taught to doubt ourselves too much. So we don't. Now, that is a confidence that very, very few women in this country have. Very few women will tell you that I am a breast cancer patient with as much confidence as I do. Because I don't care what other people think. I know what I went through. I know that I had the strength to go through it. As I was saying that most women don't have that option.
Now, tell us a little more about your grandmother who went to the Round Table Conference in 1932.
Yeah, actually, I don't think too many people are interested in that, Makarand. I'll tell you that when I see you.
Okay.
But the fact is that most women do not have that ability to, or the self-confidence to be able to say that I really don't care what other people say about me. Some of it comes with age, yes, but if you come to a meeting of the various Kumaramangalam daughters, and there are many of us, there are some 8 or 10 of us, almost all of us have done extremely well in the work, in whatever field of work we've been in. And whether it is teaching, whether it is in the bureaucracy, whether it is me who has been an activist, I mean, they say lots of things. Nowadays, they're all different terms, which are sometimes quite foreign to me. Influencer, etc., etc. Not that we have not had our problems, but we've always had the self-confidence to be able to deal with those problems. Sometimes not always the way we wanted to, but we have had the resilience because we've had been taught that you can do it. Don't doubt yourself so much. So whenever people ask me to give me a pep talk, that's the one thing I say to girls: don't doubt yourself. Say that you're going to do it, and you'll get there. Maybe there will be hurdles along the way, fine. But most women in India do not have this option. And this is something that the government must be able to provide. Today, after a very long time, you have a prime minister who talks about sanitary towels from the Red Fort. Women don't talk about sanitary towels. Forget about men. when I heard him say this, I literally clapped. I was so happy because how many women talk about sanitary towels in public? I mean, seriously, how many women, how many of us actually will talk about sanitary towels in public? He spoke about something as stigmatized and as hidden, sort of as that, from from when he was raising the national flag, or immediately after that. And this is the time when we need to take advantage of a prime minister like that. He brought in triple talaq, the bill. I have worked with Muslim women who have had hell because of triple talaq. Politically, whatever may be said, at the grassroots, it's a different story. In 2019, when Modi ji won, people asked me, कि ये triple talaq bill का क्या फायदा हुआ? And I told them that, women are not going to tell you they voted for him, but a lot of Muslim women did, because they had an option made available to them from a man who may not have, may not have a family of his own, or that sort of thing, but who understands that women have their own needs and those needs to be addressed. Those needs must be addressed. So this is a time where uh, influencers, people who take decisions, including people like Makarand, many of us, we need to make sure that the fact that women must be taken on board when you're making programs for post-COVID recovery. Financially, partly because Nirmala ji is a woman, and a woman from a humble background who has risen through her sheer competence and hard work to where she is today, understands that there are women's issues that need to be addressed. So she, as far as she can, I'm sure she does it, which is why we had that Jandan thing where 500 rupees was sent to women and is still being sent, will be sent, I think, for a couple of more months. Giving many women a little elasticity with regard to how they can tackle the problems that have hit them during the epidemic. But much, much more needs to be done. This baby boom that I was talking about, it's not, the figures are not going to come out and open. People will be very embarrassed to say that we've suddenly produced babies in the last 10 or 11 months. But the truth is that this boom is going to take place throughout the world. It's not just India. And we need to be able to deal with it. The Poshan program that Smriti Irani ji just, I think she even tweeted about it yesterday, is something that needs to take this into cognizance. You have to take into account that many more babies are going to be produced suddenly over the next few months, which means that reproductive health for the mother, nutrition for the mother and the child, all of this are going to they will have to be made a part of the planning for a post-COVID economy. Again, women and jobs. We have to look at the jobs that could be given to, if not all, and we can't do it all, I have to agree to that, but as many women as possible, to empower them or to facilitate them. If they can't go back to agriculture, for example, actually, no, that's a wrong example, because like I said, agriculture is one of the only two sectors that has done well during COVID and has actually grown in India. But all the other marginal daily wages, the women, we don't yet have enough trains for our maids to come back from, whether it's Jharkhand or Assam or wherever else they're coming from, Bihar, etc. Those women need to be facilitated. You need to be able to say that we are willing to provide training, that little bit of extra skilling that women may need to be able to re-engage themselves economically. We need to be able to put out, it's called information, education, communication in the world of when you do activism with people at the grassroots. That is publicity, literally, like what was done for polio, like what was done for many other things. In the environment, how much work is being done on the environment through TV channels, through everybody. The government of India has a habit, not just government of India, the governments of India, state and center, has had an old habit. This is, I think there from the time independence was won by us, where we put out advertisements saying this is the work we've done, not advertisements saying this needs to be done, except take Swachh Bharat and what a success that program has been. Yes, we had a remarkable man in Parameshwar Iyer who dealt with a bureaucrat who was really a wonderful implementer. But there are other Parameshwar Iyers in the government. And the government needs to now come out and say that if there is violence, tell us what we need to do to help you. Much like what happened post Nirbhaya, where we responded to the need of women. The governments need to take into account the fact that women need to get back their jobs over a period of time. Of course, nothing happens overnight, immediately. For example, now the new law that was just passed yesterday, I'm told it's a controversial law, though I don't know why, but that's the politics of it. The agricultural law where poor farmers couldn't sell anywhere. Again, there are a lot more farmer producer cooperatives or farmer producer organizations, as they are called, which will find it easier to navigate this new law than individual farmers. And many farmers, as I said, are women, not just labor. Many of the men have migrated. If you go to Uttarakhand, you go to Bihar, you go to anywhere, you'll find Kerala, even down south. This is not just a Bimaru state's problem. You'll find that most of the men have moved away to the cities, migrated to the cities. And many women are still left behind, whatever the reason for it may be. And they will be the ones who will be doing agricultural labor or sex work. These are the two easiest options available for women when they're left behind in the villages and the men have gone to the towns to work. Now, you need to be able to prevent both. We need to be able to facilitate women to see that they're not pushed into sex work or labor where they are not paid enough or paid regularly, and the government has to look into it. We have to take the planning down, right down to the grassroots. Just sitting with the big bureaucrats in AC rooms or people like me or Makarand or many of us who may be here is not enough. You need to go down, right down. We have now 13 lakh women in our panchayats in India because of reservation. And out of these 13 lakhs, believe me when I tell you that there are at least 3 to 4 lakh women who are tough, competent women. Not all of them are somebody's wives and daughters, etc. And many of those wives and daughters themselves have now understood the power of being a panchayat member or panchayat chairman and have learnt that I can use this power to do something for my children, to do something for the school, to do something for women to, for women's lives to be a little easier. Here again, it is a fact, and this is a statistical fact, that men like to invest in big ticket programs, big roads, big infrastructure. Women will say, no, the school needs a schoolyard. खेलने का जगह चाहिए. बच्चों का नून मील स्कीम क्यों नहीं ठीक हो रहा है? नल क्यों नहीं है जिससे पानी आए? So these women who are now at the panchayat level, we need to take them on board. That is up the line. From a level at the grassroots, women need to be consulted. Women's voices need to be taken on board. This, according to me, is the single most important thing that the government of India and state governments and all bureaucracy across India, regardless, it doesn't matter what caste, creed, party, vagara, must do. Because this is a golden opportunity that we have also got. In a way, we are starting afresh. And this afresh must take into account all the facilities that women have not been given, not just during COVID, but before that. As Makaran said when he started off, I'm sorry, I'm not calling you Makaranji, I should, but as Professor Paranjpai said when he started off, we must learn from the lessons of the COVID epidemic. Not just say ki these are the problems and yeah, we need to deal with it. We need to say this is how we deal with it and this is how we must deal with it. And scholars like you who are at at the Indian Institute of Administrative Studies in Shimla, IIAS, are people whose voices are heard. So please make sure that your voices are actually heard. I'm sorry, that's my dog that's barking. 1 second. It's up to us to make sure that these voices are heard, that they are taken into account, and that it's not just a naam ke vaste hearing. That women's voices, when heard, we listen to them, and we adapt our policies to make sure that their needs and their desires and their demands are taken into account and are actually uh, uh, taken on board. That women are facilitated so that in case, and God forbid, another epidemic like this hits, uh, at least they are better protected, not just physically from violence, but also economically from much of what has happened to them. Also, to change women's behavior themselves, to make them more responsible towards themselves, to understand that if I don't take care of myself, my family is also going to suffer, and therefore I should take care of myself. Not to feel guilty about that. To give more women the opportunity to get the skills they need, not only for life, to making for life skills, but also the economic, the financial, the internet, the negotiation skills they need to be able to have better lives. Now, I think I have spoken for long enough, nearing an hour. So I was told that questions, comments, etc., are also allowed. So thank you very much for the opportunity, and please feel free to comment and question, and please suggest also. I'm not too old to learn, so please, if you have suggestions, etc., I'd be very happy to hear them.
Thank you,
very much.
thank you, Lalitha ji. Before I call the RMO once again into the conversation, I wanted to simply say how riveting it was, as always, to hear you. Your voice was certainly heard loud and clear, and the concerns you've raised. It's a very, I think, a provocative, inspiring, wide-ranging talk, and extremely balanced. I just wanted to mention one or two things that struck me.
Yeah.
Like the first part of your talk, I think you flagged several issues of great concern, and it made me wonder whether the pandemic is going to undo some of the, decades of work that has been done to empower women and improve their position in society. Are we actually being pushed back? And then in the latter part of your talk, you actually made very concrete suggestions, and you even made a very bold statement that it is the women who are going to pull us out of this crisis. So my first question was really that, which is, and of course, one more thing that I think was really important in what you said was that from top to bottom, we need to hear the voices of women, and participatory governance simply means that, as you said, men like these big ticket items, and then women will say, where's a place for children to play? I mean, this is, I think, profound, how we ignore, because we are all interested. In fact, when we deal with the ministry also, if they say so, they always say, why are you proposing 1 crore, 2 crores? Kuch 500 crore ka batao, then everybody gets excited,
Yes, true.
The system works that unless you have some big item, nobody cares. On the other hand, it's the small is beautiful, as Schumacher said. It's the small and slow steps that actually bring about a change. And as you said, in the Panchayati Raj system, because of reservation for women, there's going to be an incremental, sure difference in the way we do our planning. So my first question, and then I'll hand it over to the others. Do you think there should also be reservation in Parliament and in other bodies at the state level, as you do have in some European countries? Or do you think that is like a top-down, enforced, sort of politically correct quota system, which will cramp the way democracy works?
I think that personally, I feel that reservation, especially in the assemblies, is important for women. We now have enough trained women at the panchayat level. And if you open up reservation, initially, yes, like the same objection that was there to reservation in the panchayats, that it will be the wives and the daughters and the sisters, etc., or women from the more elite communities who have access to a certain amount of political influence or money, etc., or all of that, will be the ones who will get in.